Well, folks, it is here. President Trump's tariffs on Canada and Mexico at a rate of 25% has gone into effect. There is no room for delay at this point. Like we said, it has gone into effect after that initial 30-day period where the tariffs were paused. Now, before we get into this, drop down below and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you never miss another video from us again in the future. So like we said, President Trump will be moving forward with these tariffs on Canadian and Mexican goods at a 25% rate. I believe it is still true that the 10% tariff for energy products from Canada, the lower rate relative to the 25%, is what will go into effect here. And really, all of the evidence leads us to believe that the tariffs are really aiming to pressure these countries when it comes to fentanyl trafficking, especially Mexico, and illegal immigration. Now, we know President Trump announced this back on February 1st. They were going to be putting tariffs on place on the 4th of February. We were able to get a 30-day pause on that, and now we can see this has gone into effect now. Obviously, this could lead, and if this is a long-term solution, will lead to higher prices for U.S. consumers and potentially, I believe Mexico and Canada will both be retaliating, putting tariffs on our products, given their status as really top trading partners to the United States. Now, here's the thing. I get it. I really do get it when it comes to Mexico. We want to stop the illegal immigration. We want to stop caravans coming up from South America who come through Mexico, who get to our southern border. Mexico needs to be defending its southern border. Let's start there. Fentanyl. Fentanyl is coming from China. We all know that. We know it's coming from China. It's coming in through Mexico. And here's the thing. And now, these statistics, I believe, are for 2024. But they say that only 43 pounds of fentanyl were seized at the Canadian border with the United States. 21,000 were seized at the Mexican border. It just doesn't make sense to me when it comes to Canada. I totally understand Mexico. I have a couple theories behind it, but I don't feel like we've gotten a straight answer on why exactly tariffs are going in on Canada. And we're going to definitely get into that here. But like we said, 25% is going in on most goods from Canada and Mexico, 10% on Canadian energy imports, and really the stated goal is to pressure both countries to address fentanyl trafficking and illegal immigration, issues that really President Trump has highlighted since 2016, but has really hit hard on it during the last campaign cycle, and this is something he must follow through on to really cement. Trump is all about legacy at this point. He needs to get this issue solved if he wants this to be a part of his legacy. Like we said, originally these were scheduled for February 4th, and the implementation was delayed until March 4th because Canada and Mexico had both promised to enhance border security measures. But as of right now, these tariffs are moving forward, and I believe these are separate from retaliatory tariffs, really to meet, if the European Union is tariffing our products at 10%, Trump has the plan where he is going to implement retaliatory tariffs, reciprocal, I take that back, another R word, reciprocal tariffs to match whatever these other countries are with, which reciprocal means both ways. So if they go higher, we're going to go higher. But if they go lower, we're going to go lower. So with the ultimate goal of getting to free trade, we don't want any tariffs. That's ultimately my goal. Trump sees these tariffs as a negotiating tactic. It's as simple as that. He does not think about this through an economic lens. This is a negotiation tactic. And when it comes to Canada and Mexico, they are our top trading partners, one of our top trading partners, and with trade volumes in the billions of dollars annually. Imposing these tariffs will lead to higher prices for American consumers on goods like vehicles, lumber, and produce if these are kept in place for the long run. That's just as simple as that. It's like both countries have threatened retaliatory tariffs on our products, which could lead to a trade war, which there could be broader economic consequences from that. Ultimately, the United States is going to win a trade war. Our economies are 15 times the size of Canada's and 15 times the size of Mexico's. Now, an interesting angle you can take this at, just to add on here, is that some U.S. companies like Ford have been shifting production stateside to avoid these tariffs, potentially boosting domestic manufacturing jobs, though it has a secondary effect compared to broader economic risks that you could say are associated with this. But the reality is that President Trump, and this is what I think it is. I think when it comes to Mexico, it has everything to do with illegal immigration, fentanyl, and whatever our trade deficit is. Let's see. In 2024, the United States trade deficit with Mexico was $1.71 billion. Huh. And let's look. At 63 billion. Oh, let's see. Imported goods deficit at $63 billion, which, obviously that is something I believe President Trump wants to make ground with. He wants the trade deficit to be lower. He wants Mexico and Canada to buy more products from the United States, which would ultimately boost our economy here. But we have to be realistic about this. Canada and Mexico both have tariffs on American products that they use to protect domestic industries. It's as simple as that. They have tariffs in place. We're going to put tariffs in place. Now, ultimately, we know that these two tariffs are not a part of the broader reciprocal tariff plan, but that's something that we're going to be working towards with the ultimate goal of bringing tariffs down. Because I don't think it would be it's a great idea in theory. Yes, could we replace the income tax with tariffs? Sure. Let's get realistic about that. Is that going to happen? No. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and try and entertain ideas that I don't really think are going to have a serious shot of being a reality. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be something to try out. Maybe not great, but it would definitely be something that would be different that we could try out. But ultimately, we're seeing more companies come stateside, even companies like Honda. They're now are going to be producing their next generation Civic in Indiana. They're not going to be producing in Mexico like they previously were, according to the Daily Wire, really simply to avoid the tariffs that are going to be put on by the Trump administration. As we saw, the U.S. stock market was down about 2%, the S&P 500. Obviously, this is not reflective of the overall economy. We've known that from day one. The overall economy is not completely in sync with how a broad index fund does. The S&P 500 holds the top 500 companies in the United States. That is not a direct indication to how the actual economic macro factors are performing. But now that it has hit that time, it is only 11 o'clock my time here, but it is 12 o'clock in Washington, D.C. right now, and this is what is happening. 25% tariff. Mexico obviously needs to do more with illegal immigration, with fentanyl, trade deficit. Canada, I think they just need to do more with their trade deficit and the tariffs that they have on United States products. Now, another big investment that the United States is going to be receiving from an outside business, according to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, he says on Monday that computer chip maker, which is TSMC, which I believe is Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. I believe that is what it is. Let's see. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, indeed, my friends, has expanded its investment in the United States to spare that 25% tariff. They, under the Trump first administration, they saw an investment of about $65 billion. Now they're going to be doubling down, even tripling down, investing an additional $100 billion into the United States for their, they have a factory that is in Arizona. I believe they're going to be expanding that and building another factory. In addition to this, President Trump put a 10% tariff on all imports from China, really reemphasizing that there's going to be another 10% going into effect on Tuesday once midnight strikes. Like we said, Trump provided a delay to Mexico and Canada in return for concessions. China did not reap those benefits. And I think there is probably broad support for tariffs on China. Democrats and Republicans, we want to see that, especially targeted tariffs. That is really what we want to see here. And, and Prime Minister Trudeau says there's no justification. And I understand what you're saying. You need to deal with the trade deficit. Why do we have such a big trade deficit? $65 billion. Why? You want one thing you can do to fix it? Work on that trade deficit. Do more. It's like, ultimately, you can probably do more on illegal immigration, but when it comes to fentanyl smuggling, it's like we know the southern border is the primary issue here. So we're going to see how this all plays out. It is going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out. Are these going to be permanent tariffs? Are they going to be in place for a long time? Is this obviously it's leverage, but where is Trump going to use this leverage? Where is he going to apply it ultimately? Is the final question that we have here. So just wanted to give you guys an update. These tariffs have gone into place at this point. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. As always, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another video from us again in the future. Have a good night, guys.